West Dog here. Here to talk to you today about preventing problems from occurring. A lot of people call me with problems they're having with their dogs, and they think training the dog to sit or down or obedience behaviors is going to be the answer to the problem they're having. In fact, it's not. A lot of times, just the way you live with your dog, you can control a lot of the things that happen in your dog's life. So a lot of times, preventing bad behaviors from being rehearsed is going to be the cure to your problem until you're able to control it. All right, what I wanted to talk to you guys about today was a lot of the tools you can use to prevent bad behaviors from occurring. Like I said, before your dog's trained, the more it rehearses a bad behavior, the tougher it's going to be to fix down the road. So there's a lot of tools you can use. You can use crates, gates, leashes, things to occupy their mind. But the most important thing is controlling the bad behaviors from happening until the dog is trained. Every time that dog rehearses a bad behavior, it's going to be tougher to fix down the road. And these are just some simple ways that I'll go with you to stop them. There's a lot of different kind of dog training tools and equipment out there. Picking the right ones is what's going to help make you successful in your dog training adventure. They make different kinds of collars, leashes, dog toys. So be aware of what you're picking and if it's going to help you in your training or if it's going to hurt you. Perhaps you don't want your dog chewing on your shoes. It might not be the best idea to get a toy that feels or tastes like a shoe cloth. Maybe focus more on a rawhide bone or a rubber toy that can occupy them, keep them busy without hurting your training. Also, you have a lot of dogs that like to chew on leashes. Great way to stop that is just get you a chain leash or a cable leash, and they'll learn pretty quick that it's not quite as fun to chew on that chain or cable as it was that nylon or leather leash. I really like the use of baby gates or any kind of gate to just kind of prevent the dog from going somewhere where it can be out of supervision when you're not paying attention. More times the dogs are able to go to the other room and squat and pee or chew up a shoe, the more they rehearse that bad behavior, and the more they rehearse that, the tougher it's going to be to fix down the road. So using a gate or just a simple way to restrict the dog from going out of your vision while you're cooking, cleaning, whatever it may be. So really set up your house to where you're able to control the dog without ever even training the dog. And don't let this fool you. The dog, this is really painting a clear example that you're the leader, which goes a long way with a dog, especially anything that lives by a packed set of rules. Another thing I really like to use in dog training is a crate. It's very similar to the gate, but it allows you to put the dog in a place where it can't get in trouble while you go to the grocery store, maybe go on a jog, have friends over. And dogs are really place oriented, and they're also a den animal, so after you use this for a while, they learn to accept it and even learn to like that particular place. There's all sorts of toys you can give your dog to entertain them while they're in there and you're gone. I recommend feeding your dog in the crate and recommend using it until you're able to control your dog to prevent it from doing them unwanted behaviors. One thing I mentioned earlier was the use of a chain or cable leash. If you have a problem with your dog chewing on your leather or nylon leash, this is a quick, easy fix without having to train the dog not to chew on the leash. They're going to figure out really fast when they put that piece of chain in their mouth or cable in their mouth that that's not quite as pleasurable to chew on as what the other leash was. A lot of dogs learn to chew on the leash just to have fun, make it a toy. They learn to grab it if they don't want to go a certain place, and it becomes a problem behavior really quick. So this is a quick way to train the dog without actually training the dog. Like I said, preventing these behaviors from happening is key to training until you're able to understand what to do to correct the situation. So all three of these tools are going to allow you to control the dog without having to tell the dog no or stop. The more times that you tell the dog, no, don't do this, no, don't do that, and you're unable to control them, they figure out really quick that your voice has little to no value. And it's simply just becoming another background noise. Here's a good example of what happens when company comes over and you're not using any of these tools. Now remember, every time this happens and you're not controlling the situation, the dogs are rehearsing unwanted behaviors. It's becoming more and more habitual, and it's going to be tougher to train later on down the road, train it out of them at least. They're basically training themselves when they hear a certain sound to react a certain way. So here we're using the tools. We have Joseph on the chain leash tied up to the island in the middle of the kitchen, and we have the little terrier Rambo in the background behind the gate. I know some company's coming over and they're going to hear the doorbell ring. And remember, the more we practice getting the behavior we want out of the dog, the easier it's going to be to train out of them down the road. Doorbell rings. Notice Joseph starts barking as expected. Rambo's behind the gate. Not doing a whole lot, but the excitement was controlled. And the more they rehearse this behavior, the more it's going to become part of the routine and easier to train out of them down the road. That way.
Hey.
Perfect. Guys, I hope you enjoyed watching the video. Thanks for watching. What I want you to do is focus on how to train your dog before it's trained. Obedience definitely helps, but what I want you to focus on more than anything is controlling bad behaviors from occurring over and over again. It's going to make your training a lot easier down the road, and I hope that helps.